that well as well.
Yeah.
And the government can do all these things, but fundamentally it requires the entrepreneurs to just keep going, to be not content with building the £100 million business and then the £1 billion business, but just to keep growing. And that I found in California is very much the attitude. It's just the sky is the limit. Everyone thinks they can create a $100 billion company, and actually, changing that culture is tough for government to do. But I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah,
that's a harder bit.
I totally agree. I mean, I've seen the whole actually transformation in the last. When we started DeepMind back in 2010, and things were very different then. I remember our first investors, who were US based, and we had to go to the US to get our first investment, were sort of suspicious that you could build huge deep tech companies anywhere other than Silicon Valley, and I wanted to prove that that could be done. And I hope we played our small part in making that easier now and I agree with you, the environment's transformed completely from back 10, 15 years ago. And I think it is a lot easier to start and grow very difficult and very meaningful deep tech companies. So, it's been great to see that, and I think there's a huge opportunity from here. And I also agree with you that we have to be open to talent from internationally, and I think the UK does really well on that. Yeah. So, you mentioned Babbage in your opening remarks. He's a great hero of mine. But the UK has always had a rich science and tech heritage. How do you think we can sort of build on that into the future? And people like Alan Turing, it's amazing, and Ada Lovelace, amazing history we have on AI specifically, actually, but computer science in general.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes even broader than that. I mean, you think about the Industrial Revolution. I mean, just the number of inventions that happened here, right? Whether we all kind of obviously know about steam and then the forerunners of electricity, but the mechanizing textiles, a new process to make steel. You can go on and on. I think even the lawnmower was invented during that period, right? So that's our heritage. I think actually the slightly kind of the more interesting things, if I think about going forward, are twofold. One is our approach to regulation. I think there's always, when it comes to technology and new businesses, this balance to be struck between regulation that supports innovation but puts appropriate protection in place. And I just think the UK has a track record of getting that balance right, and not everyone does. But I think the other thing, which probably is only going to become more important, is the fact that we're also a global powerhouse when it comes to the creative side of things. And the creative industries in the UK are going like gangbusters. I mean, growing twice as fast as the economy. You think the amount of awards we're winning, post-production, pre-production, you name it. I mean, this is a creative industries powerhouse, and not just film and TV, but everything on advertising, marketing, and all the rest, gaming, as you mentioned. And actually, I just think as technology infuses the creative industries far more than it has in the past, again, that just plays to our strengths, because there are very few countries, if any, which punch at the weight that we do when it comes to creative industries, and I think that is a unique strength that we have, actually.
Yeah, I agree. And just going back to what you said earlier of also it's just about having the ambition to play at that global stage. I think that's something all the entrepreneurs in the audience can do more of. And again, I think probably something you learned over at Stanford and Silicon Valley, and I've been learning as well since interacting with Google. And just we have all the ingredients here. We've got amazing world-class universities, incredible talent pool, incredible heritage. We've just got to go for it.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's about confidence, right? It's about ambition, having the confidence that you can realize those ambitions. And success breeds success. Your example, DeepMind's example, will hopefully inspire others maybe here today. And when we're here in a couple of years' time, we'll be celebrating the next DeepMind. That's how this is meant to work, right?
Exactly. So AI is, we've been talking about AI is obviously a huge strength for the UK, but of course we're also very good at many other technologies too. What other things excite you?
So I think the things, if I think about the big growth industries in tech, AI, semiconductors, we talked about engineering, biology, quantum. Those are probably the tech sectors that I think we need to make sure we're well positioned for, and I believe we are. Of all of those, I think probably life sciences is the one that is particularly exciting. And yes, we have Europe's biggest life sciences industry. We've got an incredible research base. But you saw during the pandemic, not only were we able to create a vaccine here, we also had a regulator that meant that we were the first place to approve a vaccine as well, and it showed that the agility that I think the UK is known for. And then you combine that with the unique strengths we have with the biobank and genomic sequencing. I mean, you know this probably better than me, so it'd be interesting to get your perspective. When I talk to people around the world, that's an asset, the biobank with its 500,000 high-quality database, and our strength in genomic sequencing, it doesn't exist anywhere, right? So when you think about drug discovery or how can we push the boundary of what's possible in health, combined with what you've done at AlphaFold, that seems to me to be incredibly exciting. But look, this very well.
Sure. No, I 100% agree with you. I think that is the most exciting opportunity, both, commercially and also for the good of the world, is what we like to call digital biology. I mean, the advent of a new era where you can do a lot of the exploration work in silico with things like AlphaFold. And we spun out a new company called Isomorphic to sort of build on AlphaFold. AlphaFold is, finds the structures of proteins, but that's only one small part of drug discovery. But I think that AI technologies and computational technologies are going to revolutionize drug discovery and healthcare over the next decade. So we're well positioned, I think, in the UK to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and it's what you were saying earlier. It's the application of things like AI to all these other industries, and it so happens that we're pretty good in some of these other areas. Yes. So when you put those strengths together, I think great things can happen here that are not just good for the economy, right? As you said, it's great, creates jobs, creates prosperity, but these are things that can transform society. I mean, that's what's incredibly exciting.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. Well, I think we got a few questions from the audience.
Yeah, so we got some time to take some questions from the audience as well. So let's crack on. Who's got some questions? Anybody? Yes. Do you want to introduce yourselves as well?
Hi there, I'm Laura. Thank you so much for that address. Prime Minister, thank you for your incredibly modern and innovative approach. Demis, you have global impact, and yet we're so lucky to have you in the UK, so thank you for choosing the UK to build your business. My question is one around scale and pace of innovation and the regulatory framework. So we know that because of the pace and the scale, international collaboration, as we saw with the vaccines, international collaboration is so vital for our UK businesses to drive and adopt modern technologies, not just AI, but the ones you mentioned before. So how in the UK are we planning to embed a regulatory framework that can drive innovation and yet at the same time balance, I think, some changing regulatory dynamics globally?
Zora, thanks. It's not a formula, right? But your question is exactly right, and it's what I touched on. It's getting this balance right between protection and safety and guardrails, but not throwing the baby out with the bathwater and making sure that we continue to promote innovation. Now, I said it's not a formula. It's just a way that we approach these things. I think it comes, as I said, it probably stretches all the way back to the Enlightenment, right? The Industrial Revolution and our approach to these things, which is probably just in our cultural DNA, which is a great asset for the UK. But I think we approach things with a principles first logic, which I think is right, and I think that really helps us get the regulation right. I think we're big on engagement, right? And, you're sitting next to Chloe, who's superb. I'm someone who takes this stuff seriously. So you've got a government that is focused on engaging with industry to make sure that we understand how the innovation is happening, to make sure we're creating a safe space for it to happen. Regulatory sandboxes are a good example of that. In fintech, Demis mentioned that as one of our strengths. The FCA was, I think, the first regulator in the world to create a regulatory sandbox. That's now becoming a scale box. That's been exported around the world. So look, I think that we've got a good track record in doing that. I think the other thing I'd say is we've got to make sure that the incentives and the environment is right to diffuse the technology across the economy, because it's no point we create these things and they don't get spread so that the benefits are not realized fully. And I think that's actually something that we probably need to do a better job of. There's actually good academic research that the kind of diffusion of technology and best practice across the economy in the UK is probably a bit less than is optimal and less than other countries. So I think one thing we all need to keep an eye on, it's not just the incredibly switched on, innovative people in this room. We just got to figure out how we spread that mindset to every small and medium-sized company everywhere in the country, because that's how you really get the benefits of these things realized. I don't know, Demis, if you
Yeah, just to sort of touch on the point of international, I think international cooperation around AI is going to be critical. It's just, far too big a technologist for one country, one company. We all need to come round to discuss this and to make sure we reap the benefits and minimise the risks. And I'm really pleased the Prime Minister is supporting the Global Summit, and in the autumn, we'll hopefully bring together world experts from academia, industry and government together to talk about these important topics. But I think it's the first step in an important journey here.
Thank you. Right. We got any other questions? Who have we got?
Everything there.
Is it lady there?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Prime Minister. Thank you, Demis, as well. I'm Erin Platts, CEO of the HSBC Innovation Banking in the UK. So a very special day for us as we launch our new brand. And it's clear through what you covered that we are all aligned in terms of wanting to make the UK the best place to start, scale, and invest in innovation and life sciences businesses. But can you talk a little bit more about what this ecosystem should expect over the next 6 to 12 months, perhaps in the areas of scale-up capital, procurement, to ensure we continue on the journey to be a global superpower?
Yeah, thank you, Erin. But also thanks to HSBC, because I remember that weekend vividly with regard to Silicon Valley Bank, and it was great that we had an institution that was prepared to step up quickly to work with the government and other partners to come and rescue it and make sure there was continuity of funding for our ecosystem. I think you and your company deserve enormous credit for that, and it's great that we're here celebrating the launch of HSBC Innovation Banking, which hopefully can become a big global brand and business supporting technology businesses. So thank you. What can you expect from us? I think you can expect responsiveness, as I said, a government that is listening and engaging, a government that gets it, because that's important, but also a government that's working at pace, right? I mean, we are not in the business of resting on our laurels. I think we get that all of this is moving at a pace that means government has to move at that same pace. And you've seen that in the creation of this AI task force that I announced a little while ago. Now, that's going to be modeled on the vaccine task force. It's going to have the agility and the flexible kind of delegated authority to just do what it needs to do, build a leadership position in AI safety research, ensure that we have sovereign capabilities where it makes sense. So I think that's the sign of a government that's doing things differently and acting a little bit more like all of you in this room. And that's very much come from my own experience and career. And I want to bring that same way of thinking to government as well. I guess the other thing I'd say is you can see that in the businesses, that many of whom are here, who are, I guess, voting with their feet. It's great to see just the other week Palantir announcing that their global AI research is going to be done, European research is going to be headquartered in London. That Anthropic and OpenAI are joining DeepMind and having their European headquarters in the UK, and they just announced that a couple of weeks ago. And just today, fantastic news that one of the world's leading venture capital firms, Andreessen Horowitz, is opening their first international office here in the UK. And I think, why are they doing that? Partly it's because they think not all the things that we've talked about, but particularly Web3 and blockchain is another technology which has enormous promise. And they see this as a place where that type of research and innovation is going to be done in a very strong way. So I think that's all evidence of a government that is doing all the things that I said, and you can see the outcomes because I think companies are voting with their feet and saying, look, the UK is where we want to be. Good. I think I'm conscious of time, yes. So we probably need to take a couple of questions from the media as well. So could I maybe start with the BBC, if they are here?
Hello, Helen Camp from the BBC. How concerned are you about the short-term impact of AI on jobs, given that we're already seeing some losses? And is Boris Johnson undermining you, and did anyone at number 10 at any point meddle with his honours list?
So, on your first question, look, that's look, it's an obvious, when we think about the risks of AI and what are people worried about, obviously, people's concern is for jobs, and you've had announcements where it started for the first time, AI is being associated with how companies are reforming or restructuring their workforces. So obviously that's going to be anxious for people. Look, we've grappled with these things in the past. I think MIT had an interesting study that they'd done where they looked at all the jobs of today and discovered that I think 60% plus didn't exist 30, 40 years ago. And to give you a sense of something that we've had to grapple with before. Look, I think what does that mean? It means governments have to ensure that everyone has access to education and skills at every point in their lives. And that's what we're doing. We're changing how we fund education. So it's not something that we think of as just something that stops when you finish school or college. It's something that you'll have to come back to and will want to come back to over the course of your entire career. and dip in and out of. So I think that's incredibly important, plus making sure people in the first place are set up to participate in this new economy that is more focused on technological skills, and that's why I'm very passionate about making sure people study maths to 18. I think that, it's something where we're international outlier in not doing that, and I think we need to do a better job of that for all the benefits it will bring, including in the creative industries that I talked about, where the jobs are becoming even more quantitative as well. And look, when it comes to honours and Boris Johnson, look, Boris Johnson asked me to do something that I wasn't prepared to do, because I didn't think it was right. That was to either overrule the HOLAC committee or to make promises with people. Now, I wasn't prepared to do that. As I said, I didn't think it was right. And if people don't like that, then tough. When I got this job, when I got this job, I said I was going to do things differently because I wanted to change politics. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm also keen to make sure that we change how our country works. And that's what I'm here talking about today, making sure that we can grow our economy, that we can maintain our leadership in the innovative industries of the future. Why? Because it's going to create jobs for people, it's going to spread opportunity around, and it has the potential, as we've been discussing, to transform people's lives. And as Prime Minister, I want to make sure that that happens, because I want to make sure that I improve everyone's lives in this country and do it in a way that is right and is in accordance with my values. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. I think next we've got the Times.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Mark Selman from the Times. We are hosting this summit in the autumn about AI safety. Do you believe that existential risk is a reality in terms of one of the risks of AI eventually down the track?
Yeah, look, I think I'm sitting next to someone who's much better placed to answer this than me, Mark, so I'll let Demis comment on that. Look, I think there's a range of concerns people have. One is the socioeconomic impact that we just talked about, the impact on people's jobs. And then there's obviously risks around misuse, right? How do people use AI to do things that are bad? And people have always used technology to do bad things. That's not a new thing. We just need to be alert to that. There's kind of what we call tool use, and AI is a capability that provides new opportunities for malicious actors. And then there's what, I guess, technologists like Demis would call capability overhang, which speaks to the kind of last category of risks that then start to trend into a space where people are talking about very significant risks that some would call existential, others would say alongside things like pandemics and nuclear war. And that's obviously concerning. And that's why I think it's important that we put guardrails in place to make sure that we develop and exploit this technology in a way that's safe and that is secure. That's why the summit is important, because it will bring together people to consider those risks, make sure that we appropriately plan for them, discuss the right guardrails to put in place, and the research and evaluation that we're going to need to do to make sure that we're on top of it. So I think those are the kind of topics that I'm interested in exploring at the summit. But Demis, do you have a thought on?
No, so I agree with all of that. And I think there are different, we've talked about incredible opportunities of AI. I think those, everyone knows, understands those well. But there are attendant risks with any new transformative technology, and AI is no different in that respect. And I agree with the Prime Minister's sort of different buckets or categories of risk, and I think they need to be mitigated in different ways, from bad actors using these technologies in bad ways, that's a sort of access issue, to near-term risks of things like bias or deep fakes, and I think there are new technologies along the way that are coming along, like encrypted watermarking, which will help with that. And then there are these sort of more long-term technical AI risks, things like alignment, controllability, interpretability of these systems. And I think here there's uncertainty around those risks, and we need to understand and research those systems a lot more over the next few years to have a better handle on what the boundaries are of these systems, including the risks and then we can put the right guardrails in place, and government can put the right guardrails in place. So I think there's in the situation where there's a high degree of uncertainty, but a huge potential impact either way. I think the right way to proceed is with the precautionary principle. You know, proceed with exceptional care, be optimistic about what we can do with the opportunities, and sort of use things like the scientific method to study and carefully analyze these systems as they get increasingly more powerful in the future.
Brilliant. Thanks, Demis. And then lastly, Bloomberg.
Hi, Celia from Bloomberg. My question is, why would AI people decide to come to the UK and cater to a UK scheme when you have a much larger trading bloc like the EU going ahead with their own AI regulation?
Great. So that's a good question to end on, because it speaks to everything that we've been talking about for the last half hour or so. And that's about the UK just having confidence in itself. The UK is one of the leading places in the world for AI, as we are in so many other strengths. That's not me saying that, that's the facts. Look at the AI research capability that we have here, the number of citations and AI research that's produced, essentially after the US, we're the leading democratic power when it comes to the quality of our AI research base. Look at the number of AI companies that we have here. A third of all of Europe's companies are here. I think twice as many as anywhere else in Europe. Look at the money raised, same. And then look at the companies themselves, right? As we just talked about, there's 3 frontier labs. Demis is headquartered here. Google have headquartered their AI business here under Demis's leadership. But then Anthropic and OpenAI have just opened their European offices where? They've opened them here in the UK. You've got Palantir just opening their global AI research capability here in the UK. So those are all the reasons we should feel confident and optimistic about our lead in AI and our ability to play a leadership role. And the creation of the task force with more funding than anywhere else in the world for safety research, again, is a reason why I think we can play a leadership role in this, and we can develop all the evaluations and the auditing that Demis talked about. We're going to steal a march on that and get going with that quickly. But look, this is not about imposing our view of the world on everyone else, right? This is about convening people and bringing them together. Academia, business, governments from around the world. AI doesn't respect national borders. This is about us just bringing people together to talk through these issues together and ultimately put in place a multilateral framework, because that's what it's going to require ultimately. But do I think the UK can be a leader in shaping that conversation? Absolutely I do, right? Because we've got incredible strengths here, and we shouldn't be shy about that, right? We should be confident in our ability to lead this conversation, because it's incredibly important that we get it right. It's going to be incredibly important for the future of our country. We want all the benefits that AI can bring, but we need to manage it safely. That's my job as Prime Minister, and we're going to do it working together. And I'm very grateful to Demis as well for his support. But I think we can have a very exciting summit, which is going to produce some really important outcomes, not just for the UK, but for the world at large.
Great. I think that's all we've got time for. So thank you, Prime Minister, for all your valuable time and support. Look forward to getting right with it. Thanks, Prime Minister.
Gosh, what an honour to have both the Prime Minister but also Demis Hassabis from DeepMind. What an inspiring conversation around how AI and innovation is shaping our future economy, our future society. And also the real commitment the government's making to responsible AI. I think everybody in this room is probably very much with them on that. And Demis spoke about the importance of the international cooperation. And that's why we're bringing everyone together here at London Tech Week, with over 50 countries represented this week at London Tech Week. So we're very, very much behind that agenda of international collaboration. I remember when we first co-created London Tech Week in 2014 in a really small venue in Shoreditch, probably about 150 people. But that was exactly the same time when Google acquired DeepMind and also relocated its AI Innovation Centre from California to London. That was a really smart decision for those Googlers in the room. Now we have over 1,300 AI companies in London. So we're having this phenomenal growth. So really thrilled to hear about the summit later this year as well. So my name's Janet Coyle. I'm the Managing Director for Grow London within London & Partners. So we help tech companies, global tech companies, scale-ups from all over the world to connect into the ecosystem here, to scale their businesses, to access the finance, access the talent, and to go on and to win international business. I'm really excited about this week for 3 reasons. Firstly, because Carolyn mentioned earlier, the sheer scale of what London Tech Week has become. Over 350 speakers. There's so much content for you all to enjoy. Over 50 countries represented. Over 30,000 delegates. So that's exciting on its own. But secondly, we're doing a little bit of a London City takeover. There's fringe events happening all across London, across the London boroughs. So do try, if you've got time, just to explore what's going on outside of the QE2 campus as well. And thirdly, because we have a government and also a mayor's office who are very committed to the technology sector and are very committed to the whole week of London Tech Week. And it now gives me enormous pleasure to introduce to you what I feel is the biggest champion of the best global city in the world. Please welcome the Mayor of London, Mr. Sadiq Khan.
Well, thank you, Janet, not just for your kind words, but for the incredible work you and the dedicated team at London & Partners do for our city and our country. Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the 10th edition of London Tech Week. For those of whom it's your first time in London and here for the entire week, the weather is always this wonderful. And thank you to the Prime Minister. He's had quite a weekend. I've been asked to scotch any rumours that any of his words were drafted by ChatGPT. It was also fascinating to get Demis's insight this morning, himself a founder of a local startup that went on to become a global success. I'm very proud that London Tech Week goes from strength to strength year on, year out, year in, year out, and has become a symbol of our ever-growing power in global tech. And long may that trend continue. It was Abraham Lincoln who once said, "The best way to predict your future is to create it." It's a spirit that our city embraces. Indeed, London has always been a cradle of innovation. One of our greatest daughters pioneered computing science. One of our greatest sons gifted us the World Wide Web. And now a new generation are busy making their mark. What began life as a handful of startups on Silicon Roundabout in East London has grown to become one of the most influential tech hubs in the world. That success has pollinated across our capital, a fintech cluster in Canary Wharf, the West London Innovation District, here east in the Olympic Park, the Knowledge Quarter. Today, the world's biggest tech companies have come to be part of the story. Of course, none of this happened by chance. We're here in Westminster, home to our legislators, the Square Mile and Canary Wharf, home to our financiers, a short tube ride away, part of a public transport network that's the envy of all. World-leading universities, more than 300 languages spoken, and most importantly, our people, highly skilled, highly motivated, drawn from everywhere, renowned as the best anywhere. The result? London's offer to tech innovators, investors, business leaders is unrivaled. And with the ambition and enterprise you bring, we've become the most attractive city to start up or scale up a tech business. And now, the most high-tech city in the world. You know, London has attracted more new international tech companies and foreign direct investment than any other global city in the past decade. So, my message to you all is this. If you're a stranger and thinking about making a home in London, I promise that you won't feel a stranger for long. Our tech community is open, inclusive, and we have a range of bespoke support to help you get settled. And if you're already part of the family, now is the time to grow. We're already doing something special in London, but we're on the cusp of something extraordinary. We can't, however, make the mistake of prioritising scale over purpose. So as Mayor, as well as laying the foundations for your ideas and companies to thrive, it's also my job to ensure success translates into people's lives and their communities. For me, there's no more compelling way than in the fight against the climate emergency. I've made it my mission to make London a net zero city by 2030. One of the reasons that ambition is even within our reach is because our city has a legacy of seizing the opportunities afforded by innovation. The congestion charge zone, the Oyster card, then contactless payments on our transport network, using Transport for London's data feeds so Londoners can plan journeys, our world-leading ultra-low emission zone, a network of hundreds of air quality sensors providing real-time pollution data to Londoners, deploying AI to reduce congestion, every new bus in our fleet zero emission, more than 13,000 electric vehicle charge points. I could go on. The list is long, but the lesson is short. Tech has been a mainspring of environmental progress in London. It's making walking, cycling and public transport the go-to options. It's making our air fit to breathe, and it's making a sustainable city for future generations to inherit. But you know what? This isn't the time for complacency. Last summer, London was given a horrifying glimpse into the future when extreme heat crippled infrastructure and destroyed homes. To avoid that nightmare becoming our reality, we need to go much further, much faster. And to help us on our way, today I can announce the launch of the London Climate Resilience Review. Emma Howard-Boyce, CBE, Chair of the Green Finance Institute, has been appointed to lead the work. She'll be exploring how London must adapt and prepare for the impacts of our changing climate, and the role of data and tech will be central. I want this review to be a further demonstration that cities are the most effective bridge between our innovators and citizens. So please make sure your voice is heard. Let me finish by saying that we've already predicted our future here in London. A fairer, greener, more prosperous future in which all our people thrive. It falls on us now to create it. And together I'm confident we will, because time and time again we've proven that while our ambitions are unmatched, so too is our ability to meet them. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you, Mayor Khan. Next to the stage, we will have an exclusive fireside chat on fueling UK entrepreneurship. 2023 has given us many memorable moments already, including the coronation of a new king in the UK. But a standout shock to us all in the tech sector was the weekend, the 10th to the 12th of March, and the surreal events around Silicon Valley Bank. A mere 13 weeks on, lucky for some, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to HSBC Innovation Banking. The new brand, carefully chosen to reflect the unparalleled partnership between HSBC and what has been in the past and now surely looks set to continue to be the most trusted financial partner to the UK innovation economy, SVB UK. The combined offer of the two is compelling.